Good evening, everyone, and we welcome you to a very important evening and one that we always look forward to, and a new inductees or new induction class to Jacksonville State Athletics Hall of Fame. This is quite a group that we have tonight. Coach of the Year, honoree several times. We have, I think, all total 7 Player of the Year awards, several All-American honors, OVC Athletes of the Year, Academic All-Americans. So I'm going to sit down and let them take over. But we thank you for coming. Hope you'll enjoy the evening. We're going to get started first with invocation. We'll enjoy our meal then after that, and then we'll get the program started. State Circuit Court Judge Brian Howell, who is the nephew of an honoree that we have here with us this evening, is going to bring our invocation.
May we pray, please? Father, we thank you first for the opportunity to gather here. We thank you for these individuals who we honor tonight. Their service to Jacksonville State University. I thank you for Jacksonville State, what it means to me and what it means to the others of us that are gathered here in this room. We just thank you for the opportunity to be associated with them, hopefully, and to honor them in all that we do. But we strive to serve you, and we pray that you will bless us through this food. May it nourish our bodies. May we have a great time together. May you keep us safe on the way home and bring us back tomorrow for the football game. And protect us in all that we do. And we hope that we bless you in the things that we do. In Christ's name, amen.
Enjoy your dinner. And just so you'll know, we are streaming this live, Facebook Live, for the Jacksonville State Athletics webpage. Brad Smith, behave yourself back there now, okay? As we get started this evening, I'm going to say something here. I may regret this before it's over, I don't know. The gentleman I'm going to introduce has helped us out through the years in doing some sideline for us on our radio broadcast for Jacksonville State football. If I had known he was going to enter in this capacity he's in now, I'd given him a whole lot more airtime than I gave him at that point. So it is my pleasure to welcome our acting JSU president, Dr. Don Killingsworth.
Thank you, Paris. Everyone knows that's a lie. You would not give anybody airtime. It's great to be here tonight, and congratulations to these inductees. There's a few people I'd like to recognize in the audience before we get started. 2 former Board of Trustee members, Mr. Bob Kennemer over here. And Mr. Ronnie Smith. Both have been tremendous assets to the Board of Trustees and to the university, and extreme supporters of Jacksonville State Athletics. So we thank y'all for your service in the past. Circuit Judge Brian Howell, as he's eating cheesecake, we'd like to introduce you and thank you for being here. So this is day 3 on the job for me, and I'm glad to be, serving in this role. I went here and had a good time here. This is the first Hall of Fame induction ceremony, though, that I remember all 4 inductees. It's good to see you, Carmen. Yes. Coach Bailey, I saw him in action, and all 3 student athletes I saw y'all play, and y'all were remarkable, and this is a well-deserved honor. I'm going to be brief, and again, welcome to Jacksonville State. If you haven't been here in a while, welcome back. Please go around campus if you haven't seen it in a while. We've had a few changes over the last year and a half. We're making progress, we're moving forward, and down the road you're going to be very proud of this institution. I'm going to yield my time because Coach Hobbs will need it for his introduction. Thank y'all for being here, and have a good evening.
We'll start the evening with the Jimmy Bryant Award, and this was established in 2006. This is an award that's presented to individuals who bring fame and glory and honor to the institution of Jacksonville State, or they have provided long-time ongoing service and support to the Gamecock Athletic Department. Some of you may remember the name Jimmy Bryant, and this honor named after him. He was a long-time Birmingham News sports writer, and he attended Jacksonville State University. We have 2 honors, 2 groups that we would like to recognize tonight. The first folks that we want to honor, both Ken and Jenny Howell. They've been active supporters here at Jacksonville State Athletics for a number of years. Numerous contributions have been made by the Howells to the Gamecocks as they support all of our JSU athletic teams. Mr. Howells, a 1972 graduate of Jacksonville State, his degree, a Bachelor of Science in Accounting, and at that time he was commissioned into the Army Reserve as a second lieutenant. He served 10 years in the Reserve and landed at Auto Custom Carpets in Anniston. He's currently president and CEO of the world's leading manufacturer of automotive replacement carpet. He was the 2014 JSU Alumnus of the Year. They've been very active in everything, as we said, athletics at Jacksonville State, including the Gamecock Club. Mr. Howell has also served as president of the JSU Foundation Board. They have endowed a scholarship that's awarded to a Calhoun County senior that attends Jacksonville State. And they're both very active in ballroom dancing. I'm waiting for lessons. And teach a ballroom dance class here at Jacksonville State. So we're happy to honor them tonight. So I present to you Ken and Jenny Howell, winners of the Jimmy Bryant Award. Next, we want to honor Ronnie and Betsy Smith. They've been dedicated to Jacksonville State, serving the university and the athletic program for many years. Mr. Smith's retired vice president of Alabama Power Company, heavily involved in Jacksonville State and the community of Calhoun County. He was on the JSU Board of Trustees from 2004 through 2019 and was chairman of the board from 2017 through 2019. The Smiths have been avid supporters of JSU athletics over the years, and they can be seen cheering on all of our teams in the different fields of play. Two of their children, student athletes here at Jacksonville State. Brad played baseball from 1998 2001. You know. And Stacy was a member of the JSU softball team from 2000 through 2003, and then Stacy worked in our strength conditioning department after graduating in 2004. So at this time, we'd like to honor Ronnie and Betsy Smith, Jimmy Bryant Award winners. How about another hand for the Smiths and for the Howells as well? Thank you. Before we get started with the Hall of Fame inductions, any members, current members, active members of our JSU Athletics Hall of Fame, would you please stand at this time? Members of our JSU Athletics Hall of Fame. Thank you. Glad you could join us tonight. At this time, we start our induction ceremonies, and our first inductee this evening will be Matias Anselmo. Matias Anselmo helped the JSU men's golf program emerge as one of the premier programs of its size in Division I. He was the 2003 Atlantic Sun Player of the Year and the Ohio Valley Conference's Co-Golfer of the Year with teammate Nick Mackay in 2004, while leading the Gamecocks to conference championships 3 times in his 4-year career. He and the Gamecocks won back-to-back APSUN titles in 2002 and 2003 before claiming the OVC crown in their first year in the league in 2004. He was the 2002 APSUN Freshman of the Year and a 2-time first-team All-APSUN performer before earning first-team All-OVC honors in 2004. His 71.5 scoring average in 2002-2003 is the second lowest in a season in school history, while his averages in 2003 and 4 and 2001-2002 rank 7th and 9th respectively. His career scoring average of 72.6 is the 3rd best in JSU history. The Eagle Owl Award winner in 2004-2005, he also shared medalist honors with Mackay in the 2004 OVC Championship. And to induct Matias Anselmo into the JSU Athletics Hall of Fame, his coach and a member of this Athletics Hall of Fame, Mr. James Hobbs.
I've been trying to get on the basketball broadcast for 40 years. And Mike will not let me do it. So Don, I understand your frustration. First of all, let me congratulate Ken and Jenny on your support of our athletic department, for your encouragement and your just constant presence at our athletic events. We do appreciate what you mean to our university and to our athletic department. Let me say to Ronnie and Betsy how much we appreciate your service as well. And my wife and I, we don't enjoy basketball games unless Ronnie and Betsy are there. And then we get to be entertained by Stacy's children and her family and all that. So we do appreciate the fact that you were willing to take a leadership role on our board and help advance our university to where it is today. I want to introduce some of my players that are here tonight. I have 5 players. They just all happen to be from Argentina. So that might give you an idea why they're here. I also want to introduce my wife, Sandra, that's back here at the table. I also want to introduce Jeff, Jordan, and Sonia. Jeff went into our Hall of Fame in 2002. He was our first golfer. He was part of our Division II era, a 3-time All-American, and we're glad to have Jeff and Sonia back with us tonight. As I said, my wife is here, and one of the things that she and I always have enjoyed is coming to the Hall of Fame banquet. It's always been a very special night for both of us. Over the years, we've shared this night with friends, colleagues, and athletes who were so deserving of this honor. We didn't come because I was part of the athletic department, but we came because we had enjoyed watching so many of the athletes, and we had enjoyed watching so many of the coaches coach, and we had just been a part of cheering them on and supporting them. And so it was a very special night for us to come and honor those that were being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was a night that that some players I had coached. It was a night that some players and people that I had worked with and that I had supported as a fan. It was a night that many of my colleagues were inducted into the Hall of Fame, Coach Skidmore, Coach Jones, and some of our other coaches. So it was always a very special night for us. The one thing that we would do when we would leave the Hall of Fame night is we would get in the car, and on our way home, we would always contemplate who would be next and who would go into the next Hall of Fame class. And we would discuss it and we would talk about it, and then we would sleep on it. But tonight is very special. This class tonight is one of the best classes that we've ever inducted. To Clay, and to Abbey, and to Coach Bailey, I congratulate you on your induction. You're all very deserving of this honor, and I congratulate you, and I applaud what you have done as athletes and coaches here at JSU. I'm truly honored to induct Matias Anselmo into our Hall of Fame. In 1995, our men's golf program was entering into a new division. We entered into Division I golf. Our men's golf program was probably better positioned to go into Division I than any other sport. We had been very strong in Division II, and we had even won a couple of Division I tournaments. Now, tournaments, what we do in golf is we play in team tournaments, and there will be 10, 12, 15 teams in a tournament. And we had won 2 as a Division II team. So we felt like we could go to Division I and be competitive. But when we made that move in '95, we had been recruiting players that were not Division I players, and they were players that would come to JSU, and they were willing to come and work and develop their skills and develop their talent and to carry our team forward. The strength of our Division II program is well evidenced by what we were able to accomplish, and the fact that we have 2 players in the Division II era in our Hall of Fame says a lot. But we needed something. We needed a catalyst. We needed somebody that would allow us to break into Division I and be a competitive, strong program. And then came Matias and Anselmo. And when he arrived, things quickly changed for our men's golf program. When I recruited Matias, I had several Argentines that had played for me and that were here. And I would ask them, tell me about this Matias boy. And I would always got one response: he's blue-eyed. Well, tell me about this boy. Coach, he's got blue eyes. So that's all I knew about him. And so here comes this blue-eyed Argentine into JSU in 2001. And he arrived on the scene, and there was no way I could dream what was about to happen for a small Alabama university that was a mid-tier Division I program. He was a real catalyst. We quickly became a top 50 team in Division I golf. During 3 of the 4 years that he played here, we had a national ranking of 61, 48, and 42. We had a national scoring rank average. That's our scoring average. That's when you go out and play, you have a score at the end of the day. 288 is par, so what you're hoping to do is have a scoring average that's somewhere around 288. We had a national scoring rank among Division II teams of 22nd one year that he played for us. That means we were in the top 25 teams in Division I golf in scoring average. We had a team finish percentage of 77%, 85%, and 87%. Now, a finish percentage is your winning percentage against the teams you're playing against. So if there were 15 teams in the tournament, we beat 77% of them that year every time we played. And then the last year, we beat them 86% of the time. One year alone, we never finished out of the top 5. And Jeff will understand what I'm saying. You start in a field, and you may have a pairing where you're paired with certain teams, but at the end of the tournament, the last day, you have a final pairing. That's the 3 best teams playing in that tournament. For 3 years almost, we never, in the last round, didn't play in the last group. That means we were in contention every time we played. Matias helped our program in a dimension that you could think about and dream about, but you could never understand the reality of what he meant. When he graduated, he had set the bar very, very high for all of our players that would follow him. It is a standard by which our players are measured today. Everybody that plays JSU golf now on the men's side, they are compared to what Matias was able to accomplish. And the most important thing that Matias did when he came here, he was ranked as the #1 player in Argentina for 2 straight years in amateur golf. Well, you might say, that's Argentine. Well, Argentina is the 3rd largest golfing community in the world, behind the United States and Great Britain. So that says that he was a blue chip athlete. We had a real struggle in our day after we moved up to recruit the blue chip athlete. We weren't getting any blue chip athletes. And if you don't understand that term, the term that's used today is 5-star. We didn't get any 5-star players. We didn't get any blue chip athletes because we were transitioning from 2 up to 1. And when Matias came, he knocked that door down for us to begin to have the confidence that we could recruit worldly players that were highly ranked. And without Matias Anselmo and what he did for JSU, there would never have been a Danny Willett or a Matt Wallace or a Tomas Anderson or a Julian Cominares or even Jesus Montenegro, who's on our team today. He's played in 2 straight U.S. amateurs. They would not have happened. Matias basically set that door open for all the players that would follow. Now, when I say Matias set the bar, and I know you heard what his statistics were, but he played 132 competitive rounds of golf. 132. That's over a 4-year period. He was par or better 61 times. Wow. That's enough to make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. His personal finish, that's the number of players that he beat in the field. And if we're playing with 15 teams, then there's 70-plus players in the field. His finish percentage, that's the number of people that he beat, was 87, 87, and 93 over a 3-year period of 4 years. That means the last year that he was 93%, he beat 980 players individually, and he lost to only 76. His career scoring average, 72.6. And when I really started to try to put my notes together, and I've stayed on script tonight, okay, Greg? I'm going to get off here in just a minute. I took a little cruise down memory lane, just thinking about Matias Anselmo and what he meant to our program and what he meant to me. And it kept coming back to my mind how I'd just like to get on the golf course with him one more time, and how I would like to see him wear those red colors just for one more day. What an enjoyment that would be for me. And then I realized that by what he has done here and the bar that he established and the door that he opened for us to recruit international players, I get to see that every day, because everybody that plays for me now, they have to play up to Matias Anselmo, and that's a wonderful thing to have hanging on your name. Now, just a sidelight to Matias. He was stubborn. He was hard-headed. He was difficult to coach, okay? He had a theory that if he ever made birdie on the first hole, he was going to play bad. And we're playing in the conference championship in our last APSUN, and he missed a birdie putt from about this far on the first hole. And I know he missed it on purpose. He never played with a 3-wood. That's unheard of in golf. He never carried a 3-wood. I would argue with him constantly, Matias, you need a 3-wood. Matias, you need a 3-wood. He hit a driver off the deck. Those of you that play golf don't understand how hard that is, but that's the hardest thing to do in golf. And he hit a driver off the deck better than anybody I've ever seen. He played with a driver off the tee, off the deck. It didn't matter where it was. He had just a driver, and he was the greatest player I've ever seen with a driver. Now, one of the things that I do as a golf coach today is I get to go look for golf balls in the woods, in the bushes, in the trees, wherever it's at, okay? I do that very well, Stacy. I've gotten good at it. I know how to look for golf balls, and I know where to look. When Matias was here, I lost practice in doing it. He never hit it in the trees. He hit it into trees one time in Memphis, and I'm thinking, what are you doing over here? And he just laughed. He was such a good player, and it's with great honor that I get to induct Matias Anselmo into the JSU Athletic Hall of Fame. Matias.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Coach. As you can see, Matias got blue eyes, but he's not too tall. Well, thank you. All I can do here, Coach did all the talking for me. All I can do is thank a lot of people. First of all, I want to thank the committee here for giving me this opportunity. I always say that coming here was one of the toughest decisions that I had made in my life. And now looking back, it's one of the best decisions that I have made in my life. The 4 years that I spent here at JSU were probably some of the happiest of my life, and I will always remember. And all the help that I got here was amazing. To the athletic department, Greg, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I know you from my days. You were extremely nice to me back then. You're doing the same right now. You're the same person. Thank you very much for that, and congratulations on all of the success. I was always a fan as an athlete, and I'm still a fan right now, and this is an amazing opportunity for me to come here and see all this. Coach, I cannot thank you enough. What you have done for me while I was here and after that, it is amazing. It's okay. That might be more important than what I'm saying. It's okay, Coach. Again, thank you very much. You help in so many ways. When I go here, I didn't speak any English. Not that I speak great right now, but I can communicate. And you helped me with that. You helped me with my temper. As you were saying before, I wasn't an easy person to deal with, and you dealt with me, and you did it in an incredible way. But most of all, you took care of me. And I look at the table, and I see the 5 Argentinians right now. But the truth is, you got to go back to 1995 for the first Argentinian that came here. And you have been taking care of Argentina for 25 years. And we look at you as a second father, and we appreciate that a great deal. And I'm talking on behalf of myself and all of the Argentinians. Then I got to think of my teammates as well. Some of them couldn't make it. We're a team of international players. But they all became my friends here. And I look back, and it would have been impossible to do what I did without their help. And finally, the most important thing in my life, and I just want to take the time to introduce my parents, which came here, my mom, Susana, and my dad. I don't know if you read the newspapers, but Argentina is going through difficult times. It was even worse in 2001 when I came here. And well, they did everything they could to make sure that I had every single opportunity to do what I did. So in a way, what I'm trying to say is this award is one of the greatest that I received in my life, but it belongs to me as much as it does to them. So thank you very much, guys, and I love you. And well, to all of you, thank you very much for being here. I know that JSU means to you as much as it does to me. Congratulations to all of the inductees as well. And again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It's been my pleasure to come back. Every single time that I come back, it is great, and I hope I can continue to do so in the future. Thank you very much.
As much as I would like to keep this, that belongs to you. And I can tell you, he may have been hard-headed, but he can't match Coach Hobbs for being stubborn. So we'll just move on from that. Our next inductee, longtime coach, Steve Bailey. Steve Bailey becomes the first person affiliated with the JSU tennis program inducted into the Hall of Fame. But he served JSU in many roles over more than 3 decades. His retirement following the 2015 season capped a 35-year run as the leader of Jacksonville State's men's and women's tennis programs. He built the Gamecocks into a championship-caliber program in Division II and continued that success as JSU transitioned to Division I athletics in 1995. His teams won 20 conference championships, 9 in his 12 years in the Ohio Valley Conference. He was a 6-time OVC Coach of the Year, winning the men's honor in 2004, 2007, 2009, and 2014, and a 2-time recipient on the women's side after earning Coach of the Year in 2008 and 2010. He tallied 812 career wins and guided JSU to 5 NCAA Division I regional appearances. Bailey also coached the men's golf team and women's basketball team during his tenure at Jacksonville State, while spending time as an instructor in the physical education department. I got to tell on myself here, we recorded the audio and got it done, and Steve Kynes is back there behind the camera tonight, called me and said, "Hey, do you know what you did?" And I said, "No." He said, "When you read that," and I'm reading from a script when I do this, he said, "You said 35 decades, not 35 years." So he's not that old. But then ironically, a few days ago, I'm talking to somebody, and we were talking about the Hall of Fame. He said, "Bailey's going in, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Wasn't he here when it was Jacksonville State Normal School? Wasn't that when he..." So at this time, to present Steve Bailey for induction into the Jacksonville State Athletics Hall of Fame, former player for him, Greg Harley.
Like Mike said, my name's Greg Harley, and it's such an honor to be here tonight to introduce Coach Bailey on this very special night for him. You're going to hear a lot, and you've already have heard some about championships and tournament titles, etc. Well, I played from 1985 to 88, and let's be absolutely clear about something. My teams had nothing to do with any of that. We were just, it was pretty bad. But you know, you don't get a chance to thank people enough in life when things are happening. So, and I know I don't look that old enough to have played that long ago, but I want to say to Coach Bailey, thank you, number one, for not kicking me off the team when I messed my knee up at the fraternity house. And if Coach Skidmore saw me the next morning, I was crying, and my dad came and got me. But anyway, thank you for not kicking me off the team when I followed that up with breaking my finger coaching the KA basketball team. And most of all, thank you for not kicking me off the team when I opened up my junior season 0-7. I appreciate it. But there you go. You know, not long after, and real quick for the old Gulf South Conference people here, we might have won my senior year, but for one team cheating, and I'm not going to name any names, but I will mention 3 letters, UTM. They had guys playing that weren't even enrolled in school, and you know, yeah, I got over it. But in a complete coincidence, things got a lot better after I left, and the championships started coming. I mean, I'm going to say it one more time, 20 conference titles. That's GSC and OVC. Coach Bailey proved he could do it at Division I. The dynamic, I mean, as Coach Hobbs alluded to, it totally changed. Countless Coach of the Year honors, countless all-conference players, all-American players, etc. He always said, and I've got a thing called Baileyisms, all these quotes that he gave when he was here, and I can only mention about a third of them tonight. But one of them, he said, "Harley, we're going to win, but we're going to win with class." And he brought players through here that I think absolutely exemplified that. I think we graduated probably 90% of our players. Had so many players that under his tutelage went on to do great things. And I'm going to call out 3 people here tonight. Carmen Garcia, who is a wonderful friend of mine, but an even better friend of my wife's, came here from Venezuela in probably 1997. I don't think you spoke a lot of English when you arrived. Tremendous player, I'd say one of the more loved players of her era. Graduates from here, goes to New York, works, and now she's one of the top tennis pros in Atlanta at the Atlanta Athletic Club. My great friend over here, Chris the Nature Boy Crump, amazingly successful business career. And on top of that, still an accomplished tennis player, and absolutely proves that no matter how crazy you were in college, you can turn your life around. And then last but not least, and by the way, a little something about Coach Bailey. She came from Atlanta tonight. He came from California. And then my last person I wanted to mention, Michael John Garnett, All-American here in 1991, one of the top pros in the state of Tennessee, and coincidentally is coaching a Gulf South Conference tennis team right now, Christian Brothers. I got to tell a very quick story about Michael John. And y'all are worried I'm going to talk too long because lawyers get paid by the word or by the hour. It's okay, because if I know Coach Bailey, he's not going to be overly long with his remarks. And the other thing is, based on my career, this is as close as I'm ever getting to a Hall of Fame speech, so by God, I'm going to enjoy it. But anyway, Michael John got out. He's teaching tennis in Atlanta, and just because she might be watching this on Facebook Live, a really, really cute young gal is at a tournament. She wants to play college tennis. Her dad's there with him. He says, look, you need to call Steve Bailey. That's where I went. You'll love it. They meet Coach Bailey. She's on scholarship. She comes. Ends up playing here, very successful career. The rest of the story is, if I can make it 2 more days, I'll be married to that young lady, Amanda Martin Harley, for 17 years on the 27th. So thank you, Michael John, and thank you, Coach Bailey. But in any event, here's the deal. All those titles, 20 titles, it's like, Coach, if they were giving you a ring every time, you'd be out of fingers and toes. You know what I'm saying? But to me, and anybody that knows Steve in this room, it's not about that. It's some of just the remarkable, fun stories over the years, and I'm going to try to share a few of those. I want to say at the outset, there's some people here that have been a while. If they're not totally true, one of the first things they taught us in law school is don't let the truth ruin a good story. So don't jump up. But anyway, a lot of people don't know it. Coach Bailey kind of got some of his start here in the basketball program. And a legendary story, again, who knows, was that Coach Jones told a young Steve Bailey, hey, there's a kid over at Leeds High School, power forward. Would you mind go take a look at him? Get back to us. Well, Coach Bailey, now, did he go over there or did he go to the dog track? Now, we don't know. But he comes back and says, Coach Jones, I don't think he can help us. He's too fat, too slow. Well, you probably might have figured it out by now, but that young man was named Charles Barkley. Ended up being an All-American, an Olympian, an NBA Hall of Fame. But I'm going to tell you something, and I'm a Jack State guy through and through. Could he have beat out Keith McKellar and Robert Spurgeon? I'm not sure. So one more basket, the maybe missing that talent didn't hold him back so far, because then Coach Bailey went on to coach the women's basketball team. And as good as he was, that's probably not why he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. But there were some good stories that came out of that. And here is my absolute favorite. The Lady Gamecocks were winless on the year, headed down to Auburn to play the Bugs. And, that was a joke, headed down to Auburn to play the Bugs, who powerhouse SEC team. And as Mike Paris, who may or may not have been calling that game, we were only going to go as far as Idella DeRamus would take us. Well, it wasn't, you remember her, it wasn't that far that night. And we were down 43-8 at halftime. It never got any, 43-5. And it never got any better. Totally not the point of the story. I loved how Coach Bailey relayed the next thing to me. He says, Harley, and this is my Coach Bailey imitation. Y'all can, when he gets up, y'all can see how good it is. He says, Harley, the Auburn beat writer come up to me after the game, and he said, Coach, what'd you tell your team at halftime, down 43-5? I looked at him and I said, first off, It's none of your business. Second off, I told them we're going to Pizza Hut after the game. So somehow, and I know he would have turned it around, but somehow Steve transitioned into tennis. The rest is history. I mean, such a great, oh man, what a record of achievements. And I look back on it, I'm like, well, what made Steve so good? And I'm going to tell you, in my view, it was three things. Number one, number two was how hard he worked to get better. Number three was he was a great recruiter. And number one is he was a wonderful motivator. But he didn't do, it wasn't the classic rah-rah speech before we went out on the court. It was always just some funny stuff that he would come up with. And I go back to my years, and again, we needed all the motivation we could get. Now, I got to tell you, Carmen and Matias, I don't mean any offense by this. I hope I don't. But my team, when we were here, and it's probably not that coincidental that we got our butts kicked a lot, we were all Alabama and Georgia, Mississippi guys. And so we took pride in that. You know, we were the USA guys, and we're playing a lot of guys from all over the world. And we kind of use that as our rallying cry. So anyway, we're down at Troy. I'm in a tight third set doubles match against the dreaded Troy State Trojans. And Coach Bailey calls me over to the fence, which is pretty unusual for him. That, you know, he wasn't going to interrupt you much when you're out there playing. And I'm like, well, he's going to tell me, you know, hey, go to these guys' backhand some more, you know, get into the net more, be a little more aggressive. He's got my doubles partner, Tracy Perry, with us. He looks me right in the eye. He says, Harley, red, white, and blue, remember your heritage. And I said, hey, with that. And we went on to lose. No, I'm just kidding. I think we might have won. I'm not sure. All right, my second story, and he's so mad at me for telling this, but it's my favorite of all time. We are over at a tournament in Rome, Georgia. There's 16 teams in it, and we actually do fairly well. It was Michael and Jonathan's freshman year, I think, and we finished second. And they give us a trophy. I mean, it had to be this tall. Well, the whole way up to the car, I'm kind of talking to him, and Coach Bailey's saying, you know, we should have won this thing, Greg. We were good enough to do it, and we may have been. And I'm kind of egging him on just a little bit, but, you know, nothing more to it. Well, I don't know what got into him, because it really wasn't his personality. We drive almost off the campus, and he stops the van at the top of the bridge before we get off, and he says, y'all get off the van. We're like, what in the world is going on? You know, we're ready to get back to Saga before it closes. And he looks us in the eye, and I'm giving y'all the family night version of what he said. He looks us in the eye, and he says, channeling his inner Ricky Bobby, you're either first or last. He says, let me tell you something. We could have won this thing. We're not here to accept second place trophies. Second place is for sissies and mama's boys. And that was the G-rated version of what he said. And y'all, he picked that trophy up, slammed it into a million pieces. We went crazy. We were so fired up. And I promise y'all, I'm not making this up. A guy, another All-American from 1991, Jonathan House, who's a minister in outside of Atlanta, called me up tonight. I had said, Jonathan, tell me some Coach Bailey stories. Without any prompting from me, he mentioned that, and he said, Greg, that I was a true freshman then. That got me so fired up, and from that point on, I felt like we turned things around. It wasn't that year, but that's when the next year was when the Gulf South Conference titles started coming. So I love it. I mean, I know you don't like that, Coach, but it was great. And let me tell you, we're sitting here talking about that right now. Where would that trophy be? Down in the bottom of Pete Matthews Coliseum. Nobody cares about that. And Greg, I'll reimburse the school. Second thing about Coach Bailey is that I think attributed to his success here is he worked so hard to get better at his craft. And let me tell you where I'm coming from on that. Coach Bailey grew up in not exactly a tennis hotbed of the United States, Rainbow City, Alabama, and Panama City, Florida. He was the son of two wonderful, great people, the legendary C.B. Bailey and Martha Bailey. And I'm not going to get choked up here, but I met them both when I was in school here. They were the most charming, sweet people in the world. And Steve, I know they're looking down right now and so proud of what you accomplished and the man that you are. So, but Steve, he didn't grow up like I did and a bunch of my buddies did, you know, at the country club eating chicken fingers, taking lessons and going to tournaments. He grew up playing football, basketball, those kind of things. Somehow became a pretty good golfer. If y'all know Steve, he's kind of likes golf just a little bit. But wound up as the tennis coach at Jacksonville State from that background. Well, instead of just sitting here and accepting that, Steve didn't. He went, he got his USPTA certificate, which Carmen will tell you is, and Michael John as well, absolutely a tremendous honor and takes a lot of dedication when you don't grow up taking those lessons. When I was here, does the whole summer, coaching the men's and women's team, gets done, goes down and teaches for the summer, making $10 an hour working with a guy named Carlos Gotti that coached John McEnroe and worked with a bunch of elite players. Now you say, if you ask Bailey why he did it, he says, well, but, hey, Greg, that was good big R money. That's his translation for a Coke. But the real reason he was doing it was because he wanted to get better at coaching college tennis players, and he knew that if he did that, he was going to learn how to coach those elite players. And it just tells you about his dedication to success. The last thing I'll talk about is recruiting. All y'all, the people that know me know I'm a huge football fan, and there's a great expression in football. It's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Demetrios and D'Angelos. Well, Coach Bailey, he had a great recruiting. He brought wonderful players in here, okay? And he had a unique way of doing it. He would bring a good player in, and we loved so much working under him that then they would go out and recruit other people. And it's just, to me, the testament that he made it so much fun for everybody that was involved in that program that you would be willing to call up your friends, somebody who's a little better, and you'd say, hey, you got to come here and play for this guy. So, Coach, thank you so much for making it fun for us and making it enjoyable. And you won't, I mean, y'all, we used to have guys, we'd play, you know, Barry. The next thing you know, their number one player, totally no recruiting by Steve at all, he's calling Steve and saying, hey, would you consider letting me to transfer to Jacksonville State, because I see how much your guys love playing the game. So that was huge, and I think those three ingredients are the key to success. Let me close with this, and I really gave some thought to it. You know, there's an old saying in life that nice guys finish last. And so much in our society, we see, you know, the loudest voice in the room, the most obnoxious voice in the room, the biggest self-promoter ends up having success in business, sports, and politics. Well, you know, let me tell y'all something. Coach Bailey is an example of a guy who put people over money, finishing first. He's an example of a guy that didn't care about his individual accomplishments, finishing first. He's an example of a guy that realized that coaching isn't so much about the W's and L's, but it's how you impact other people's lives. Example of that kind of guy finishing first. In my view, really in sum, he's an example of a nice guy finishing first. So all of the accomplishment, all of the accolades, I want to submit to you that the reason Coach Bailey is getting inducted into this Hall of Fame tonight is the impact he's had on people's lives. And with all that in mind, that's why I'm so proud to induct my coach, my great friend, the legend, Steve Bailey, into the Jacksonville State Hall of Fame.
I tell you what, after that, Harley, can I, buy you dinner after a while or something? I didn't know I did all that, but thank you very much. He was talking about influencing people's lives. And, when I first started working here, I didn't think about W's and L's. I just wanted a job. Didn't matter. And the first time I got hired here permanently, it was so lucky. I was a grad assistant, actually for Coach Hobbs and Coach Jones, and I was working in Pete Matthews Coliseum. And I didn't have a job. I had my master's degree, but I had no job. And my dad says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, you need to get on the ball." I said, "I'm working on it. I'm working on it." So I'm down at the gym, and Dr. Montgomery, Theron Montgomery, was the vice president for academic affairs at that time. Well, he came to the gym every day after work. And so we went through a fitness program. And so he looked at me and he says, "What do you want to do, young man?" And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, "Your job looks pretty good." And he said, "Come see me tomorrow." All right. So I'll go up to his office, go in, and he said, "I need a PE teacher at Gadsden State, Jacksonville classes at Gadsden. Can you do that?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "I need a golf coach. Can you do that?" I said, "Absolutely." So we went down to the personnel office, signed the paperwork. I started working at Jacksonville State. So I called my dad up and I said, "I got on the ball. I'm working at JSU." And he was so happy for me there. But I got a lot of people to thank because none of this could happen if I didn't have help along the way. And boy, did I have a bunch of help. Our administration here at JSU is unbelievable, terrific, from our president to the ADs, to our trainers, to our everybody, our secretaries, our admissions office, our housing, you name it. This place is unbelievable. Every time I had a recruit in, we'd start visiting around, we'd go to the admissions office, we'd go to the housing, we'd go everywhere. And they would all say, "This place seems like home." And I said, "That's it." We had a saying, Jacksonville State, the friendliest campus in the South. We still got that. We need to bring it back if we don't. Because it is, it's the friendliest place in the world. And it always felt like home here. And I just, and even tonight, this is like going to my living room standing in here. But I worked here for 35 years, and it's just great. Wouldn't do anything different if I had to do all over again. But the second group I'd like to thank, of course, is my staff. Boy, did I have some great coaches, trainers, managers, racket stringers. Everybody forgets the guy who strings the rackets. Most important guy on your team. If you don't have a good racket stringer, you don't have a team. And we used to give this guy 12, 13 rackets, and he'd say, "When you need these?" And I said, "In the morning." And he'd work all night stringing rackets. So you got to have that. And my assistant coaches, unbelievable. Great coaches all the way around. And one of my longtime assistant coaches, Tim McTaggart, worked with me from '99 to 2015. And we had a great run during that time. And he helped me so much. So thank you, Tim. Tim's out of town tonight, but thank you, Tim. Also, and this is the most important, all my players. Unbelievable. If I did anything, just to sit back and watch these guys and girls play, were unbelievable. And if I was thinking about a story all those years that would, think about how it would, think about my whole teams in summary. And he's here tonight, so I'm gonna pick on him. We're playing Harley's favorite team, UTM, Tennessee Martin, in the finals. It was our last year in the Gulf South Conference, wasn't it? And they were really good, the top four, but we were better than them at 5 and 6. So we win that easy, but it was really tight, the top four. So Michael John, I'm gonna use him as an example here. He don't mind. He's playing number 3. He's playing this guy from England, and he'd lost to him 2 times already. And he's down a set, 5-2 in the second set. And I'm saying, well, this one looks like a loss. He calls me over. I I said, what's going on? He said, I got this. I said, you got what? He said, I'm going to win this match. I said, okay, go get him. Go get him. Well, he won 7-5. So he split, goes to the third set. He's down 5-2 again. And I said, well, you know, this ain't looking good. He won it, 7-5 in the third. And so when he came off the court, all I said was, you wasn't lying, you had it, no problem. But that is, all our team was that way. All the teams I coached, I've never seen teams fight harder, try harder than our men and women. And I'm so proud of them. And I was just so happy to be your coach. And y'all make me proud every day just being here. And in closing, I'd like to say this. If I could get in one of those little time machines and go back and get out as an 18-year-old again, I'd say, where is freshman orientation? I want to do this all over again. This is a great place, unbelievable place. And you just can't beat it. Thank you very much for this great honor. And I'll never forget Jacksonville State, and it'll always be home for me. Thank you very much.
I've been here associated with Jacksonville State 37 years. Bailey just talked more right now than he has in those 37 years that I've been around. Congratulations. Our next inductee, and a treat to watch her in her career here, Abbey Breit.
Abbey Breit becomes the first volleyball player inducted into JSU's Athletics Hall of Fame after one of the most storied careers of any Gamecock in any sport. One of just 3 women to ever win multiple Ohio Valley Conference Female Athlete of the Year honors, Breit won the league's highest athletic honor her final 2 years after her historic volleyball career. The 4-time first-team All-OVC selection was a 3-time All-American by the American Volleyball Coaches Association from 2005 to 2007. Breit was the OVC Player of the Year each of her final 3 seasons, a feat never done before in the conference at the time and only matched once since then. Her school record, 1,897 career kills, remains the 4th most in OVC history, and her 1,342 digs are still number 6 on JSU's career list. She was a CUSIDA first-team academic All-American in 2006 and 2007, along with earning academic All-American honors from ESPN the magazine those same 2 years and ESPN Academic All-District in 2005. Breit led JSU to 4 conference championships and its first 2 NCAA Division I tournament appearances in 2005 and 2006. NCAA Division I tournament appearances in 2005 and 2006.
Whittemore, you hadn't changed, did he? Neither has Abbey. To present Abbey Breit from induction into the JSU Athletics Hall of Fame, Mr. Jim Skidmore.
Hey, it's a great day to be a Gamecock again. Congrats to Coach Bailey, Matias, Clay, of course, Abbey. What a great induction class this is. A great class. As a longtime member of the Hall of Fame committee, I have always thought that this award was not just based on what you did as a student athlete at Jacksonville State. I think it also reflects on what you've done after you left us here. And all 4 of these have done very well since they left us. All 4 of them participated during my watch. I don't recall any of them giving me very much trouble, which is a good thing. If all coaches that I'd had to work with were like Coach Bailey, I might not have retired. I mean, because he was easy to work with. My Sue's here tonight. She played for Coach Bailey a couple of years ago, and she was fired up about coming to this tonight. And today's her birthday, by the way. Congrats to the Howells and the Smiths. Known these folks for a while. Every time we roll the ball out there, they show up for that, and everything else we do here too. Coach Rick Noe, he recruited and coached Abbey while she was here. He couldn't be here tonight. He's with his volleyball team in Mississippi State or somewhere. I can't believe he left Jacksonville State, but he screwed that up. But I was very pleased that Abbey asked me to induct her into the Hall of Fame. If Abbey's accomplishments speak for themselves, if you look at her stats in here, athletically and academically, she's a pretty special kid. Abbey, and I've been able to say this about a few of our student athletes over the years. Abbey practiced and Abbey played like they were going to kill the losers. She was so intense. I never was, and still don't, volleyball, you know, parents will screw up something. They'll go, you know, pat on them and love on them and this, that, and the other. Abbey would run across the floor and get in your grill. I mean, we got to play better. Veins sticking out in her neck, and she was intense. Energy and enthusiasm she had. Never had one with so many accolades. You haven't seen this. Greg Seitz has. You haven't seen this. I got a hold of her resume, her vita. I had to take a nap. She has approached life since she left Jacksonville State University like she approached her career here. PhD pharmacy, graduated magna cum laude from the University of Kentucky Pharmacy School. She's been recognized as a youth volleyball coach in the Louisville area. She continues to excel as everything you do. She does, right. And you won't hear me, for one person, make any bad comments about Abbey Breit, because Abbey Breit is also, as a hobby, she's a kickboxer. And so, it's with great pleasure that I present Dr. Abbey Breit for her induction into the JSU Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Coach Skidmore, for that introduction. You were always a strong supporter of the volleyball team and female athletics in general, and I appreciate that so much. And I know that you advocated for me to the Hall of Fame committee, so I thank you and the Hall of Fame committee tonight for this tremendous honor. I also want to congratulate the other inductees tonight. It's truly an honor to enter into the Hall of Fame with this class. Especially to Clay, you may have seen in the photo there, we were co-Eagle Owl awardees our senior year, so it's extremely special. This honor is the ultimate achievement in a career that began when I was only 10 or 11 years old. And within a few years of playing, the game consumed me. I loved the game, I fell in love with it, and that love for the game is what propelled me. I loved every drill because it was an opportunity to play the sport that I loved. And I know that I am lucky to have found my passion so early in life. And nowadays, I fulfill that passion by coaching. Coaching in Louisville area for the last 9 years, I've seen the spectrum of good and bad parenting in the athletic field. But in that regard, I'm very proud to say that my mom and dad, Carolyn and Larry with us here tonight, they got it right. Of course, I'm thankful for, the countless hours spent and days spent driving me to and from gyms and practices, and the days upon days we spent in gyms across the country, and the financial burden that they took on to allow me to play club volleyball at a high level. But what I am most grateful for, and what I believe is the most contributing factor to my success as an athlete, as well as a pharmacist and a coach, is that when they enrolled me in sports, they let me play. They let me fall in love with the game. They let me learn the life lessons and the values that make team sports so special. They let the coaches coach, and they supported me, and they cheered me on, but also my team and my teammates. There was no pressure for me to make a team or to even try out. They relentlessly supported my passion and my pursuit of my goals. They told me often how proud they were of me, and still do. And they shared their pride in my accomplishments with anyone who was willing to listen. So I am so grateful to have this opportunity tonight to give them the formal appreciation that they have always deserved. So thank you, Mom and Dad. I love you. I also want to thank my little brother, Clayton. Being 10 years younger than me, he spent most of his childhood in the gym and unironically chose soccer, an outdoor sport. So thank you to my Aunt Rita and Uncle Perry for all of your love and support through the years, but also for traveling down this weekend to celebrate this honor with me. I'm so incredibly appreciative for the special group of women that I am fortunate enough to call my teammates. I specifically want to thank Rebecca, who came tonight, and my other teammates, classmates, Joy and Abbey. The 4 years we spent together in the jersey was our best years, our glory days. I'd be remiss not to recognize also Annie, Brooke, and especially Emily, who were my setters that led to the career kills record. In truth, the honors and awards that I've received are just a reflection of the work that we did as a team. And my proudest accomplishments and favorite memories are the things that we did as a team. You know, the first conference championship, the second conference championship, going to the NCAA tournament, and the win on the road at number 12 U of L at the time on their home court and in my hometown. So I cherish the unique bond that we will always have as teammates, and this recognition tonight is a tribute to them as well. Of course, the most important coach of all for me was Rick Nold. To this day, he's coach. Of all the coaches I've had, if I say coach, I mean Rick Nold. I didn't understand just how lucky I was when I committed to JSU and to Coach Nold, and how good of a match he was for me as a player. And I think part of the reason of that is that we approached the game very similar. We were similar players. We were both undersized hitters with hops, and he understood how I like to play the game. We played with a deeply rooted inner competitiveness and a quiet confidence. More than the volleyball skills he taught me, he coached me to be a mentally tough competitor. He taught me to explore leadership roles on and off the court, and fostered a somehow deeper appreciation for the game. And though we can't be here tonight, I want to say thank you to Rick for recruiting me to JSU and making my collegiate career so extraordinarily special. In fact, the entire athletics department at JSU is extraordinarily special. From my very first recruiting visit, it just felt right. As Coach said, it felt like home. Everyone from the athletic training staff to my strength and conditioning coaches to the other coaches and players on other teams that supported each other's events, and every member of the athletic department staff. It was a family atmosphere all the time, and I think that's part of what makes JSU so special. And today when players or parents ask me, what was it like to play collegiate volleyball, I tell them that I truly loved every minute of my playing career and my collegiate career, and that I was fortunate to have found a coach and a school and an environment that was the perfect fit for me and allowed me to excel and achieve my dreams. It's been a wonderful experience being back home this weekend, and I'm so thankful for all the experiences I've had here in the past and look forward to building even more in the future. So thank you.
Abbey came into town yesterday and went to volleyball practice and spoke to the team, and you may have noticed I've been checking my phone. Our volleyball team's playing tonight and started in four-way tie for first place in the OVC and halfway through the season. Whatever she said to them worked because they beat Murray State, one of the teams they were tied with tonight. So 1 in 4 sets, by the way. So we'll tell Coach Garvey to bottle that and save it and use it again sometimes, what we'll do. I don't know if you've noticed, we've gone in alphabetical order tonight. Starting W with the last name. I guess when you were in school, it was the same way then, wasn't it, Clay? Yeah, okay, all right. Our final inductee tonight, and a former baseball player, one of the all-time greats, Clay Whittemore.
Clay Whittemore becomes the 9th baseball player in the JSU Athletics Hall of Fame and the first from the Jim Case era after a stellar 3-year career with the Gamecocks. The Coleman, Alabama product helped guide the Gamecocks to 2 Ohio Valley Conference championships and a berth in the 2006 NCAA Regionals in Tuscaloosa. A 3-time All-OVC recipient after spending his freshman season at Georgia, he also earned OVC All-Tournament honors in all 3 seasons with the Gamecocks. His walk-off 2-run double in the bottom of the 9th inning lifted Jacksonville State over top seed Samford to win the 2006 tournament crown and a berth in the NCAA Regionals, and it earned him tournament MVP honors. In 2007, he led the OVC with 93 hits en route to his first of back-to-back OVC Player of the Year awards, and he became Jacksonville State's first Division I Baseball All-American after being tabbed a Louisville Slugger All-American that season. As a senior, he belted a team-high 8 home runs to lead JSU to the OVC regular season title with a 23-4 conference mark. He still ranks 4th in school history with 256 hits and 5th with 175 RBIs.
And I have to thank him because that base hit against Samford gave me a chance to get a little bit excited that day. To present Clay Whittemore for induction into the JSU Athletics Hall of Fame, his coach, Jim Case.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to introduce Clay. There's a couple of things I want to say before I get going. I promise you I'm not going to say them as long as Coach Hobbs did, but there's a couple of things I do want to say. One is I've always sat there to watch this ceremony. Sitting here and seeing the faces of the families, oh, it's priceless. And I know you all are proud, and you should be. We're proud. We're proud because we know these, we've seen all these people compete, and we know what kind of contribution they've made to our school, but I don't think the way we're proud matches the faces that I see. So I welcome all of you and join you in congratulating your loved ones. This is a strong class. This is a very strong class, and as I looked at it and I thought about it, some of the best players in these sports that have ever played at Jacksonville State, they're here, right here tonight. And just the competitive nature of the 3 of these, if we could take that and put it in a starting pitching staff, this might be a heck of a year right here. So I do want to follow up with the others, to the Smiths and to the Howells. Thank you so much. And for what you do for Jacksonville State, that you have done and you continue to do. Mr. Kennemer, thank you for what you have done and continue to do. Has so much to do. If you haven't seen our new baseball stadium, it's absolutely gorgeous, and certainly Mr. Kennemer had a lot to do with that. I do apologize for Mike saying 35 decades, but when you get to be his age, these things start to happen. You know, I did look. With you, Hobbs, and myself, that's a lot of years sitting right up here. So,
You forgot
Skid. Skid, it is good to see you. It is good to see you. But what an honor it is for me to be able to introduce Clay Whittemore to you. Clay was a special player for us in so many ways. And as many times as all of us get opportunities to speak, I think I was probably more nervous thinking about this because I just wanted it to be something that did justice to Clay. And at the same time kind of told what he has meant to this program. And you know, I think for all of us, when we first start out and we're thinking about the ones that we're introducing, certainly when I'm introducing Clay, I think about him as the player that he was and what he did for us as a player, and some of the things that were talked about up there, whether it's being a 3-time OVC, all-OVC performer, or twice being picked by the coaches as the best player in our league. I mean, that stands out to me that the coaches think that much of him. But there's a couple of things that really stood out to me and just shows how consistent he was as a player for us. And one is that he played in 171 games and got 258 hits. You're not having too many off nights when you get 258 hits in 171 games. And when I read that, I had to just let it sink in a little bit. And then that he had 175 RBIs in 171 games. So he knocked in more than one every game. That's just incredible to me. And, you know, there's a lot of different guys. Some guys are prospects, you know, and then some guys are ball players. And if you've got several ball players on your team, you're going to win a lot of games. Not necessarily prospects sometimes. Guy might be able to throw 100 miles an hour, and he's a great prospect, but he can't throw it over the plate. A ball player can throw it over the plate. A guy might be able to hit a ball 450 feet, but he can't ever get a big hit with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs. Ball players seem to always get that big hit with a runner at second, 2 outs. Clay, to me, when I look at him as a player, he was a ball player. That's what he was, and that stands out. But there was other things about Clay as well. The league coaches, as I said, picked him as the best player twice. He was certainly gifted. He was certainly athletic. Some of that was through hard work, and some of it I feel like is just being blessed. You know, some guys are just blessed with more ability than others. But with that ability that he was blessed with, he took it and he really did something with it. When you think about work habits, and really I'm thinking all three of these players, but when I'm talking about Clay, when I think about the work habits that he had, Clay, if we had the stadium we have now, I'm not sure you would ever leave that place because we didn't have that at that point, and you were there all the time. There was two things that you could not find when Clay Whittemore played baseball here. One is you couldn't find marshmallows, those little marshmallows. And it wasn't because he was eating them. He had this theory that if you put a broomstick in his hand and somebody threw those little marshmallows, he would be able to hit breaking balls better. So he would go buy those marshmallows, guys would throw them to him, and he would practice hitting marshmallows with a broomstick. And then he would get black-eyed peas, and only certain guys could throw those. Todd Cunningham was the guy he trusted to throw the black-eyed peas. But the black-eyed peas were thrown and trying to hit because that would simulate the fastball. So the parking lot would be littered with marshmallows, black-eyed peas. He's going to hit everything there is to hit. But my point is with him, everything that he did had a purpose. And he was trying to be the best player that he could be, and he was trying to set an example. And so it carried over into everything that he did. There's some guys who are like that, most are not. But everything that he did, he wanted to be the very best. So even if you were conditioning, he wanted to finish first. He never wanted to finish second. He wanted to finish first. And so what he did was he was a leader to us in so many ways because he set that example. And it carried over for years to come. And I'll tell you real quickly, Todd Cunningham, who one of the best players that we've had fairly recently, you know, was in the big leagues. But when he was in high school, he came to watch us practice one day. And we were running that day, and we ran these things we call triangles. They're no fun, but sometimes they'll get people's attention. And Clay was, every time we ran a triangle, he was winning by 20, 30 yards. He was really running away and winning it. And Todd Cunningham came, who's a high school senior at the time, and he said, Coach, when I get there next year, I want to be in his group. Everything that he does, if he's hitting in the cage, I want to hit in the cage. If he's lifting weights, I want to lift weights with him. When he's running, I want to run with him. And I said, hey, that's kind of creepy. You know, what's the deal? And he said, if he's the best player in this league, I want to do what he does. And so to me, that was a great job of leadership by Clay Whittemore and leading a young guy that turned out to be a great player. But it went even further, and I'll make this brief. But during that year, and I think Clay knew that Todd looked up to him as a young guy. Here he is, just won Player of the Year and big guy on campus and best player in our league and on and on. But on Friday nights, that was Todd's night. So after all the week of practice, that year, on Friday night, Clay took Todd out to dinner every Friday night, and they spent time talking about how for him to be a better player and for how to him to reach his potential. Is that the reason Todd Cunningham made it to the big leagues? I don't know, but I guarantee it didn't hurt anything. And there's so much love and appreciation for him towards Clay, it's unbelievable. You can't talk about Clay Whittemore and not mention what kind of student he is. In our program, since I've been here, the very first day, and then continuing on after that, we talk about principles in our program. And the one that we talk about first is we say we want you to study hard and go to class. And we, in some form or fashion, we talk about that to our players every day. And we've had a lot of great students come through the program. None better than Clay Whittemore, because the same amount of effort that he put into the baseball, he also put that in to the schoolwork. And I didn't even know this. He told me tonight that when he started the first year, he went to the University of Georgia. And he said, Coach, I really didn't do that there. And I found that hard to believe, because anything that I've ever known him to be associated with, he's always tried to be the very best. And he was a leader for our team in the classroom, so much so that in 2006, 2007, he was named a member of the JSU Scholar Hall of Fame. And I guarantee he's just as proud of that as he is of being the best player in the OVC. To finish this, I just want to say this, and I say this from my heart. Every coach, every person who's ever coached, and I don't care what sport it is, they want a guy like Clay Whittemore on their team. I promise you, there's always a place for a Clay Whittemore on the team. I follow that up by saying every parent that's ever walked face of this earth, they would love for their son to grow up to be just like Clay Whittemore. I promise you. If they do that, you're going to be happy. And then lastly, I would say, every parent who's ever had a daughter, you want them to marry somebody just like Clay Whittemore. He is the absolute best that there is. I think that, you know, sometimes there's certain people that make everybody around them better. That's Clay. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a trainer or whether it's the head coach or whether it's that freshman outfielder that's coming into your program. If you spend time with him, you come away better. So I hope that you'll join me in welcoming Clay Whittemore to the JSU Athletic Hall of Fame.
I'm kind of like Coach Case. I've been over here. I've been in the moment for the last hour, and it hit me about 10 minutes ago. I have to say something in a minute. So I've prepared some thoughts, but before I do, I'd like to also congratulate the other inductees, especially Abbey. Eagle Owl strikes again. So, wow, man, have you seen the hardware over there? That is amazing. There's a lot of awards, well-deserved, a lot of hard work that's went in to the athletic program here and to the success over some time, and I think it's great that we're all here to celebrate that and to show appreciation. I'm thankful to you, and I'm also thankful for the committee for deeming my body of work to be worthy of this honor. It's humbling. It actually makes you feel very small, especially with some of the names that are next to mine. It's, you know, when Greg first called me a couple months ago, I thought, well, you know, he's in the Bay Area. Maybe we're going to go get something to eat or something. And you know, he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, congratulations, you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I really couldn't believe it. You know, what it's like to hear those words said about somebody else. You kind of hear that a lot, right? And but to hear that about yourself, wow. I mean, who would have ever thought? It's certainly something beyond what I thought that would ever be said of me. So the proverb says, "To whom much is given, much is expected." And this seems a very fitting place for that because I've truly been given much. Most importantly, grace and mercy far beyond what I deserve and could ever hope for. And if you're curious about what I mean by that, I'd be glad to share that with you. What makes me most happy about this occasion is that it gives me the chance and opportunity to share my appreciation and thanks to some very special people in a public forum in a way that maybe they haven't heard before, but I think it's very important that they do. Coach Case, you're a great coach and a great person. Last year when the baseball stadium was dedicated to Coach Case, they sent out requests for former players and NCAA coaches to send in videos, and they compiled them into a video. And they showed it at the dedication. You've got baseball players and baseball coaches talking about a baseball stadium, and for 30 minutes, hardly anybody talked about baseball. That's because he puts first things first. He invests in young men in what will likely be the last time they have daily mentorship and influence before going out into the world. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your example. What you do really, really matters. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to play for you. And I think what says even more is that I know my parents are thankful that I got to play for you. My teammates. So there were some stats mentioned earlier. And there's one that I'd like to talk about just a little bit more. Over 3 seasons, I had 175 RBIs, and I did my own math on that, so I'm glad that it actually lined up with what was in the video. And I had 14 home runs. And when you hit a home run, you get credit for batting yourself in, plus anybody else that was on base at the time. And so I'll take full credit for the 14 RBIs. But the 161 other RBIs are there because my teammates were on base. That's more than 90% of the time. Think about that. A reporter asked me one time after a game how I always seemed to come through in the clutch, and I told him it wasn't very hard to be clutch when you've got Bert Smith or Todd Cunningham standing on second base every single time you come up to the plate. And he wrote that in the paper. Dad, if you've thrown me one pitch of batting practice, I bet you've thrown 100,000. You taught me work ethic before I really even knew what it was when I was a kid. I remember spending the night at my friend's house, and Mom had to come over really early the next morning to pick me up before we really got a chance to play. And my friend asked me why I had to leave so early, and I said, it's because me and my dad have to go get work ethic. like we were going to go to a store and get some work ethic. You come by it honest, though, Dad. You taught me leadership and responsibility. In Little League, I remember before big games or in critical situations, maybe we'd be down, you'd come up to me and you'd say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I was 8. Well, that's not baseball, Dad. That's life. Mom, you're the sweetest, most tender-hearted, unselfish person I've ever known. For as long as I've known you, you've spent all your time and energy making sure everybody else is taken care of without even thinking about yourself. I was talking with Caleb and Kaylee, my brothers and sisters, this week about what a great mom you are, and after all the examples and stories, we couldn't really sum up in any other way than to say, you're a wonderful, wonderful mother. Rachel, my wife. I know our chapter came after this one, but I'm glad you can see a part of it now. I wasn't ready for you then anyway, and I still had some lessons to learn and growing up to do to be what you need me to be. If God asked me what kind of life I wanted before I was born, and what kind of family and parents I would have, and what kind of life experiences and opportunities I wanted. And I asked for the life that I have now and the people that are in it. He would either think that I was very wise or very selfish and greedy. I'm not sure which, but I've been given much. Coming back to Jacksonville refreshes very special memories that fit together kind of like a collection of short stories. Little snippets here and there of defining or special moments that still have color in memory. And you know what those are. Some memories are in black and white, some are in color. My first college home run off the light pole in left center against Middle Tennessee over there at Rudy Abbott. Hung a slider, it was 2-0. Who throws a slider on 2-0? But I hit it. The come from behind game-winning walk-off double to win the conference tournament against Sanford. That was my first year. That was kind of a critical point for me. That was my first year at Jacksonville State, and I didn't start my career at Jacksonville State. But at that moment in that time, I felt like, wow, this is really clicking. I mean, this is going to be different. And the Voices call on the radio was perfect. Jay Harrington has that on his phone somewhere. You need to look him up. That, if you haven't heard that, that was a treat. And Brooks Stadium isn't like, if you've ever been to it in Paducah, it's not like the normal press boxes where every team has their own section. I mean, it's all one area. So the Sanford guys were like right there. And the Voice is going nuts over here, and the Sanford guys are just packing up their stuff, getting ready to go. It was great. What a moment. Also in Paducah, Kentucky, the best throw I've ever made in my life. From right field to third base for the third out of an inning in a tight game. I'm still not sure how the ball came out of my hand like that. It was a hit and run with a man on first, and he was around second before I even got the ball, and somehow, in a whirl of motion, I threw a laser strike in the air to get the guy and end the inning. I have no idea how I made that throw. I've never thrown that well in practice or any other time in my life, but it happened for me on that day. And sometimes, as an athlete, you just gotta take it and move on, because it may not happen again. And for me, it didn't. But I have that one. Also in the conference tournament, I remember being on second base, and we were down by a couple runs. There was a man on third, and I was on second. Brian Piazza was at the plate. And one of my favorite things to do was to steal the signs from the catcher. I love doing that. And so if you're on second, and if you watch TV and there's a runner on second in the major leagues or college, they'll put down multiple signs. They'll try to mix it up so you won't know, because people are smart. They know the runner on second is going to try to help their buddy out. And so one of my favorite things to do is try to kind of decode that, figure out what they were really doing. And I was able to do it. And he ended up, getting a hit, and I scored from second. And there's a wild and crazy picture somewhere of us, just storming at home plate, because when I hit the plate, the game was over. But I loved being able to help my teammate out when he's doing battle. Because baseball, it's a team sport, but it's a team sport made up of individual matchups, pitcher against batter, runner against fielder. And in that moment when you're battling, feeling like you can help out your fellow man, give him an edge, I love that. So it was one of my favorite things to do. I remember going to the Rocket in Jacksonville after doubleheaders with Mom and Dad on Saturdays, and we would either eat it there or take it out and eat it on the intramural field, something. There's not really much to those things, but they stick with you. Those are special moments. I remember the last out. Watching the last out be made from the on-deck circle in my last game in Paducah, Kentucky. And instead of the competitive frustration that comes with losing a game, instead I decided to soak in the finality of the moment. And it was the last time. And it sounds really sad, and in a way it is, because something really, really good was over. But it's hard to only be sad when you have a 3-year chapter of your life that includes characters like Jim Case, Steve Gillespie, Travis Jansen, Todd Cunningham, Josh Hoyle, Bert Smith, Brian Piazza, and others. It's hard to have a good story without good characters. And so when it was over, I felt like I could say I left it better than I found it, and I felt good about that. But then I realized the greater truth is it left me better than it found me. Thank you.
I enjoy this night probably better than anything, well, almost better than anything I do, I guess. I enjoy games, but this night is very special. It's been a special night. But as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. So our night is done here. Again, the Howells, thank you for all you do. I got some recognition last week, and I got something in the mail from them, so thank you for that. Ronnie, I remember our first meeting, Dr. McGee in your office and a couple other folks there, first time that we had that meeting to talk about some things. And thank you and Betsy and the family for what you've done for us. Steve Bailey, Abbey, Matias, Clay, thank you. All great memories. Thanks. Thank you for coming. Hope to see you tomorrow. We'll honor them again, recognize them at halftime of the football game. Bring something so you'll stay dry because I think it's still raining. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Enjoy the night.